exactly why right below your comment, Renee posted the link to the colloid Band-Aids. This is the problem with Manuka honey. If you're using it on yourself, it's sticky, it gets all over your clothes. It's just annoying. That whole tackiness is just annoying. So I buy these colloid Band-Aids. You can buy them from Walgreens, you can buy them on Amazon, but these Band-Aids, you'll just same exact protocol as hotspot protocol, disinfect with dilute betadine, then apply a thin layer of Manuka honey, and then because you don't want your dog to lick it off, and you don't want your cat to, you will have applied it, and then your kitty goes and lays on your couch, and pretty soon you have Manuka honey all over your couch, and then your dog comes in and licks the couch so there's a hole. That has happened in my life. To prevent this cycle of, oh my gosh, this is sweet, and then you have sweet stamps all over your house, and then you have dogs licking the sweet stamps all over your house. To prevent all that, you can pop these beautiful colloid bandages over the top of either your green tea bag or your layer of Manuka honey, and it protects the wound, it keeps the wound covered, and also prevents your animal from licking it, but it keeps the product up against the point of contact where the infection, sore, irritation, or dermatologic abrasion is. And it is, oh, thank you. Laura says, best Band-Aids ever. They are the best Band-Aids ever. I'm right there with you. So I do like to cover with Manuka honey, unless it's in an area where the animal's not going to track it all over and or they can't lick it off. If you have a wound that's dead set at the top of your animal's head, no problem. You don't have to cover it up. But everywhere else, you usually end up wanting to cover it up. So the second biggest question, Rodney, is what's up with all these different numbers? Like, what does it mean? And what do I do with this information? So again, thank you to our awesome admin, Renee. You have a Manuka honey cheat sheet that is at the top of the file section, ready and waiting for you, Inside Scoopers. It has a lot more information that I'm going to cover today. So if you want to do a deep dive in exactly what all of these words mean, then please download your free Manuka honey cheat sheet, and you will be able to follow along. In essence, Rodney, there's these grading systems for honey, and the two most common grading systems are the top two here, which is unique Manuka factor, UMF, and MGO, which is the methyl glyoxyl level. And methyl glyoxyl is the antibacterial property that's found in Manuka honey. So you can measure that antimicrobial level just by itself, or you can measure this unique Manuka factor, which is MGO, plus other medicinal compounds found in Manuka honey. And the reason that the Manuka honey producers wanted some of these standards is this test is how you can discern the fake guys from the real guys. And if you have questions about brand, Inside Scoopers, I know that you are from around the world. You're in different parts of the U.S. Many of you are from Australia, New Zealand, where actually Manuka's, where the tea tree plant's grown that produces the Manuka honey. You go to your company's website and they will be able to show you third-party testing demonstrating the UMF levels or the MGO levels. So UMF really measures the active concentration of these key bioactive compounds found in Manuka honey, and a typical UMF rating, Inside Scoopers, a low rating, so a very mild infection, maybe a cut or an abrasion that's not infected, but you want to prevent infection from occurring, you would use the cheaper, lower UMF rated Manuka honey. That's like +5. A high UMF, if you have a raging, overwhelming MRSA, really aggressive skin infection that no antibiotics have been deemed appropriate or sensitive to address, you would get high potency Manuka honey, which is 15 plus UMF rating. When it comes to the MGO rating, the MGO rating was developed by Dr. Peter Molen, I think out of New Zealand, and he really was just focused on just tell me what the microbial spectrum is. Like, is this a whopper antibiotic honey, or is this a lower, more mild antibiotic honey? So if your product uses this product uses the MGO system, and it says MGO is 83. I don't think you'll be able to see it, but it says all Manuka honey will tell you what the rating is. This honey says 83, and this one says 200 plus. So if I had a cut or abrasion on Homie or Callie, or actually I use it on reptiles all the time, on Gordy, and I have used it on Gordy. He rubs his face all over stuff and gets a little lip wound. I just smeared this right on. His lip wound isn't infected, but I don't want it to get infected. So if there's no infection present and you just want to prevent infection, cuts, scrapes, wounds, abrasions, low MGO or how high is yours?
So
or UMF is fine.
Yeah, so my MGO, like these are the Manuka honey that we carry at Planet Paws. They come in like a whole assortment of levels. So 30, 115, 263, and the levels get higher and higher. This one's just a standard 30 that I brought into the home, not looking for the antibacterial, anything
just
high
an
in
everyday.
Just an everyday, right? Because
every day, you bet.
You know, when your antibacterial levels are really high, and then you're putting it on toast. What are you doing to your microbiome over long-term exposure, right?
Well, and here's another thing, guys. If you're going to feed honey, I love honey. Papa Becker, if you're watching, my dad puts honey in his coffee every morning for his whole entire life. Just like colloidal silver, if I have Helicobacter, if I have a patient that has been diagnosed with a GI ulcer, which is caused from the bacteria Helicobacter, I will use Manuka honey orally. If I have known infections in the mouth or esophagus or esophageal burns, I use Manuka honey orally. Rodney, I don't get up every day and give my animals Manuka honey, nor would I get up every day and eat Manuka honey. If I'm going to add honey to my smoothie that I make every morning, it will be raw, organic, locally sourced honey, because what I want is I want to eat the pollen and the environmental substances created by the bees in my area to help my immune system better adapt to allergens and pollens in my environment. I don't want to wake up every day and take a natural antibiotic honey. I want to wake up every day and take a natural immune balancing honey, which is locally sourced, raw, unfiltered honey that are made right here in my area. That's my recommendation for daily ingestion of honey. If you have oral wounds, esophageal wounds, gastric wounds, then you're going to break out that Manuka and you use it for a short period of time and then you put it back in the cupboard because it's an antibiotic. And we don't get up every day and take antibiotics. We take antibiotics when and if we need them. So Manuka honey, I do reserve for infections. I don't eat it every day because I want it to work every time when my body or my patient's body or my pet's bodies need it. And so to preserve that spectrum of beneficial good, I'm going to pull it out when I need it and put it away and pray I don't need it most of the time. Rodney, when it comes to then the take-home message, when it comes to understanding these rating systems, is really UMF. You're looking at low dose, 15. For medical grade. If you're looking for like an aggressive infection, UMF 15 plus or MGO 400 plus. If you're looking for everyday over the counter, maybe you're trying to prevent infection from occurring, then you would use the cheaper and the lower UMF, like a +5 or a +10 or an MGO 100. So you can choose kind of the aggressiveness of the Manuka honey that you want to provide to your animals based on what you're dealing with.
How about this?
If you have a...
Sorry.
Oh, nice.
No, sorry. I cut you off there. I thought you were done.
You know what? I haven't seen this
study.
So this
is brand new. UCLA Health. This is on their website. So preliminary study shows the potential of Manuka as a nutraceutical for breast cancer. I mean, check this out. Like UCLA researchers found that Manuka honey significantly reduced tumor growth in mice without ER-positive breast cancer cells by 84% without affecting normal breast cells or causing major side effects. I mean, the research right now for Manuka is on a whole nother level. I mean, you just go into the journals.
That's
you'll
awesome.
Never get out.
See, they're alone. Those of you fellow females that are BRCA positive, if you get the gene for breast cancer like I do, God forbid, if that surfaces in my future, I want Manuka. I want to save Manuka for when I really need it in my life and when I need it in my pet's life. If you have an animal with raging MRSA or a raging ear infection, that is the time that you need it. And Insights Hoover asked, how do you do it? You can get a syringe, and obviously without a needle. I take a 5 cc syringe, a 10 cc syringe. If it is a big dog, you have to make sure that your animal's eardrums are intact. So your vet needs to look down your dog's or cat's ear with an otoscope, make sure that they can see that there's an intact tympanic membrane, which means we're not going to put this, if your animal has ruptured eardrums, don't put anything down their ears. So if the eardrum is intact, you can just fill that ear canal up. And then what's most important, I'm going to show you guys some pictures right now about how I go about
Okay.
managing. And now just 1 minute before you hit the pictures, scoopers, if you have sensitive tummies, if you're grossed out, and I'll preface this as I go, and then I'll tell you guys to look away if you're having, if you're in the middle of a Danish and you're squeamish about open wounds, you can just turn around and I'll tell you when to turn back around when we're done.
Close your eyes.
Yeah. But that being said, both colloidal silver and green tea and Manuka honey, just like topical bacitracin or triple antibiotic ointment, it has the spectrum of efficacy that works for anywhere between 4 to 12 hours, and then it's gone. And what you're left with is the goo. For triple antibiotic ointment, you're left with with Vaseline. You're left with Vaseline, which is this non-microbially fighting petroleum-based goo that actually research shows starts inviting infection. So one of the reasons when people say, why do you have to disinfect? I just want to keep putting more honey in the ear and more honey and more honey and more honey. Because that's like putting triple antibiotic ointment on top. What ends up happening is you get this layer of ineffective goo on the wound. And what you want is the very potent medication to be in contact with the infected or open wound so that this reaction occurs, so that the topical medicine can effectively heal and treat the skin infection. Those two have to be touching. If you've got ineffective layers of goo, then you're not going to be able to manage that wound. It takes forever to heal, but most importantly, you'll see from Manuka's toes, every single time we took his bandages off, there's pus. And pus is, if you're not used to seeing pus, it's like, ugh. For veterinarians, it's those white blood cells are sacrificing and they're fighting the good fight, and we want that beta granulation tissue to come in. When you have an open wound, which means we can't surgically close it, or if you have a dirty wound, as are the cases of the two kitties I'm going to show you, we can't sew a bunch of dirt and infection into a wound. We have to leave it open. And how these wounds heal is by secondary intention. They heal by keeping the area relatively clean, removing the body's discharge, the body's getting rid of infection by having the white blood cells come in, sacrifice their lives, pus is produced, and then we, as guardians and vets, we remove the pus out of the ear. So we are going to swab those ears out with colloidal silver filled cotton rounds. How many cotton rounds do you use for those ear infections? As many as it takes for the canal to come out clean. So you just keep using your colloidal silver, you're swabbing out, you're pulling out the old honey, you're going to pull out pus, green stuff, chunky stuff, out it comes, and then you reload that ear canal twice a day. I do morning and night. For the pictures I'm going to show you, they were two homeless cats, and those of you, Blair is online now. Blair's my niece. She's also one of my veterinary technicians that has worked with me forever. You're going to see Blair in some of these photos. Both of these kitties were homeless, and both of them came in with wounds that I managed with Manuka honey. I also used pain medication. I did not use any antibiotics. So both of these cases, you're going to say, oh my gosh, big open gross wounds. And I was able to manage both of these kitties with no pharmaceuticals other than pain management. And that's a real blessing because you'll be so impressed with how quickly they heal. So this is beautiful Manuka. I'm going to assume you all can guess how he got his name. I was driving to work one morning and I had to drive through the Kankakee State Park to get to my animal hospital. I saw off in the ditch that there was this orange creature. I thought it was a fox at first, but he's too bright and too orange. But he was just laying there. And whenever you see a mammal just laying there, they're either dead or they need your help. So I always stop. I pick up everything because if it's dead, I believe in getting that animal off the road and having an ethical burial, even if it's a wild animal, whatever. Remove it. I take it with me. So I saw a creature. I'm going to stop. This creature was alive, but he was in shock and his foot had this degloving wound. He clearly had been hit by a car. And I was very glad that he was alert. The only visible injury on his body was this open, gaping. This skin was peeled off his foot and you could see all of his little bones and superficial muscles and sinew and tendons and ligaments. It was pretty gross. So I had just learned about using Manuka honey. In third world country, human physicians are using Manuka honey for gangrene, diabetic neuropathy, and to prevent secondary overwhelming infections from surgeries that could have been contaminated or long-standing wounds that can't be surgically resolved with any type of medical intervention. When you've got these horrible oozing infected lesions, I read case study after case study about third world physicians using Manuka honey. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this on this beautiful homeless cat. Now, this is where if you're eating a Danish and you're grossed out, I actually didn't start taking pictures until about 2 weeks into this wound, between 7 and 10 days. And I don't know why, because you're in it and you just want to get the animal stable. In Manuka's situation, everyone that's grossed out by blood, turn away now. Rodney, can you go to the next slide? This is his foot at about the 10 day to 2 week mark. You can already see that there's some new granulation tissue around the top. Yes, that white thing in the middle of his paw is his bone. And you can see that there's this healthy pink tissue, but there is not enough skin to physically surgically close it. I had to leave it open. So every day, once in the morning before work and once at night after work, Blair and I would stay after. We would take the bandages off of Manuka's foot. We would disinfect it with betadine, pour some glug, 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 pour a little silver over it, pat it dry, and then I would literally dip his foot in high potency Manuka honey and I would rebandage it. And we did this every day. And Ruddy, can you go to the next slide? I'm just going to show you the progression of healing. This was about 4 days after that last picture. You can see the skin starting to creep up, healthy new skin coming in. And then next picture, Rodney. You're going to see a little bit of pus on this. You can see that white, creamy, purulent debris. That's pus. So when we take that bandage off at night, that is why we've got to disinfect. We want to remove that pus because those are those fallen white blood cell soldiers that have sacrificed their body for infection. So we know his body's fighting infection in this area, and we love that. We want to remove the pus. We want to provide the natural antimicrobial solution in the form of Manuka honey directly back on that brand new bed of granulation tissue, and then we're going to wrap it up to prevent not only environmental contamination in that wound, but to prevent him from licking it, which of course he would because it was irritating to him. Manuka was on pain management this entire time. I did not deny him pain management. And next slide. And then healing, happy healing. And then you can keep going, Rodney. Happy healing, and happy healing. And for everyone grossed out, but you kind of want to see a little bit of the, here you go. Everyone that was eating the Danish, turn back around. This is Manuka with the sole treatment being topical Manuka honey. Gay says that looks so painful, Gay. That's why he was on hydromorphone. He was all zipped up. This cat didn't miss a meal, and that's really how I judge how much pain management animals need. It's very important as ethical veterinarians that we are addressing all types of pain and maximally. And of course, this was a wildly painful wound. So of course he was zipped up on really good pain medication. He ate every meal. And next slide, Rodney. Blair B, many of you guys know Blair Becker. She's the lovely human. She and Danielle are the two lovely humans that still hand make your Dr. Becker's Bites. God bless you, Blair, for running my mama's, our family business, third generation family bakery. This is Manuka. That's the little teeny tiny wound that's left on his back left foot. And Blair Becker adopted Manuka. And amazing success story with just plain Manuka honey. Now, this next case study is Mason. Now, Mason was brought in by another inside scooper, Monica. Monica, thank you. You are an amazing human. Monica moved out of Chicago and now runs Austin Pets Alive. Monica's the girl that Chicago police would call when they had a hoarding situation. And Monica called me from the hoarder's house and said, I've got some really bad stuff. I've got to bring some cats in. Like, it's really bad. And the heartbreaking story she told me about this kitty, who we named Mason, was that a mentally ill woman living in a trailer with no windows was feeding cats. And the kitties would come and go from the house because they could just jump in and out of the windows. And she clearly loved the kitties, but there were over 50 cats coming and going from her house. Some of them were too weak or had injuries where they couldn't leave. They couldn't leave to go potty outside. So there was layer, a 4 to 6 inch layer of feces and excrement and kitty urine all over the house. And most overwhelming, when the woman saw animal control and cops come to her home, Mason was her favorite kitty, and she put him in the oven. It was turned off, but she tried to hide Mason because she didn't want animal control to take him. So she put Mason in the oven real quick, and then cops came. Cops took her down and charged her with hoarding and animal cruelty and neglect and all the things that happen, while animal control and Monica were there trying to catch semi-feral cats. So they got the house cleaned out of the kitties that they could catch. They set live traps with food to get the kitties that would be coming back in, but no one thought to check the oven. And 6 days later, when Monica went back to check live traps, she heard ew, ew, from the oven. And Mason, I don't know how he was still alive, but he was, as you can imagine, in the middle of summer, he was profoundly dehydrated, and the pads of his feet had sloughed off because the metal was so hot, and he burned the bottom of his feet. So there's no way to surgically close that. So we got Mason started on IV fluids right away. We corrected his dehydration. He, of course, preferred to stay laying down so he could take the weight off of his incredibly tender feet. Imagine having all the skin off the bottom of your feet removed. We would want to keep our feet up because bearing weight hurts. I patted his feet. He had one foot that was not affected. All of the other feet, I made really thick, super comfortable, very spongy pads so that when he did walk, it was as floaty as possible. And I got him zipped up on the biggest pain protocol you could ever imagine. Mason probably doesn't remember a lot of this because he was zipping around on his buprenorphine. He had hydrocodone on board too. Mason started eating immediately. Once we got that first run of IV pain meds into him, he started eating immediately, eating like a horse because he was starving. And then, Rodney, if anyone's sensitive, look away now. And this is the bottom of Mason's feet. Again, I should have started taking pictures. This is, oh, he's so good. This was me just bandaging. We had to bandage his feet twice a day. He was the best patient. You would think with the semi-feral kitty, he ended up not being semi-feral at all. He was just super scared. He was a domestic house cat that probably was dumped and ended up at this woman's house getting free food when he could. He was the best patient. He would lay down and just put his little paws up and just let us do our job because he knew we were trying to help him. And he also knew that his feet felt better when we were done. So, Rodney, can you go to the first paw? Ouch, right? Ouch. Oh, just open removal of flesh in that central pad. Ouch. So, I disinfected that foot really good with betadine, patted it dry, dunked that whole paw down in super strong antimicrobial Manuka honey. I did what's called a wet to dry bandage. I got like cotton balls, big chunks of padded cast padding, soaked it in colloidal silver, put that under his little pad so that when he did need to step down, there was a little bit of buffer. And then I also put some lidocaine, some numbing solution there to topically numb that because that looks like it hurts like hell. And then we bandaged the foot. And we did that before work, and we did that every day after work. And Rodney, you can zip through these photos. You'll start to see the tissue creeping in and the wounds beginning to heal. He was such a good boy, and he didn't really want to walk around, that he just hung out on my desk. God bless him. We just, first of all, I FELV, FIV tested him. I checked him for internal parasites. I made sure that this kitty was not viral positive and that he didn't have anything that he could shed. And then I just left him in my office, and he hung out here until he was healed. Rodney, you can keep zipping through, and look at this, inside scoopers that needed to turn away for graphic reasons, you can turn back. We've got a little bit of a scab healing up, but the bottom of his feet healed perfectly. Look at that, precious boy, using the power of honey. And I just wanted to show this to you because some people say, well, really, how much can honey do? Honey can do a lot. And I think sometimes we underestimate the power of some of these natural substances. When used correctly and when the cases are managed correctly, it can be powerful healing tools that literally are side effect free. So it's a beautiful thing.
That was a beautiful story. And I mean, those were some pretty darn remarkable pictures. There's nothing like those case studies, especially the vets like yourself, the ground troopers, as they would say. I remember when we were at the AHVMA and they would say the troops on the ground doing all the work, and you can document that and show it. I mean, the benefits of these herbal remedies today, these things that are in my pantry, I know they're in your pantry, much more than that as well. But things that you wouldn't really think of, right? That you would just see in your day-to-day grocery store. You don't really know what on earth it is. You can't even see the benefits. Half the people in the world can't even say Manuka. I can't even I'm sure I'm not even saying it right? Like, it's just, but to see the benefits and to learn about, the benefits that the good Lord put on this planet, man, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. Yeah.
It is amazing. Well, and if you think about it, I should have probably explained for first timers, again, welcome if this is your first podcast. Manuka honey is honey made from the tea tree plant, and you probably have heard of tea tree oil. An important thing that sometimes I've seen online, people say, well, if Manuka honey comes from the tea tree plant, and if tea tree is toxic to cats, why are you using Manuka honey on cats? There is absolutely no essential oil of tea tree and Manuka honey, so it is a-okay to use. Manuka honey can be used on any species, wildlife, dogs, cats, birds, lizards, toads, reptiles, amphibians that have semi-porous skin. It's beautiful for frogs and amphibians. It's amazing. So you have no concerns other than you could have a sticky house. Worst case scenario with Manuka honey is you have a very sticky house. Yeah. But other than that, that's a pretty minor side effect.
Yeah. My gosh, Inside Scoopers, we hope you love the information. Listen, we only blew over by 47 minutes.
Well, if we've already blown over that long, can I answer one question from an Inside Scooper who had questions about silica that has nothing to do with anything?
As long as no one DMs me and trolls me about the length of today's episode.
Renee, you emailed me. An Inside Scooper said that I had mentioned about silica. Back when we were talking about interstitial disc disease and using remedies that help stabilize backs, I mentioned that I love using silica for some patients. Silica is found in sand. The herb that has the highest silica concentration is horsetail. So I will use silica in limited situations. The Inside Scooper's question was, I stopped my sentence when I was about to say the conditions that I would not use silica for, and it is genetic mutations. So MTHFR, if you have certain human genetic deletions, and or if you have genetic variants where your body can't detoxify normally, like MTHFR, like there's an SLC gene variant, and if you or your animals have kidney disease, I would probably go easy on horsetail for long-term use, and I would go easy on silica supplements for sure. Too much silica, if you're never going to do DNA testing and find out if your animals have these genetic variants, but we know that they can have genetic variants, and if their detoxification mechanisms have been compromised because of genetic variants, silica can accumulate in their system and can exacerbate kidney disease. And so you don't want to give it to animals with kidney disease, and if you have genetic variants yourself, you want to go easy on the dosing. So it's the silica, and horsetail is not an herb or supplement that I would use in perpetuity. I use it for a short period of time to heal that disc, and then we discontinue it. So hopefully that answered that burning question for an Inside Scooper. Thank you, Inside Scoopers, for being with us for 2.5 hours. Sometimes it happens. We had a lot of stuff to cover.
It's usually the people in the comment section. You can see all the beautiful comments from the live viewers who are always like, hey man, we love this, keep it going. It's the thousands and thousands and thousands that are in from the website, and then like the shorter, more condensed, and then I gotta get the DMs. No one DM me this week.
That says, how do we get Becker to shut up? Well, here's my 2 cents. You could also just chunk it up. Like if I was a little much and you need a little break, a little Becker break, you could just hit pause and then come back and next
You have
week.
some people that don't like fodder. We talked about like what day is it today. You have some people that just want to get right into the episode that are like on a time crunch.
Yep.
But that's
Yeah,
why.
or why you may want to take 32 minutes to cook an
To
egg.
talk about
I don't
periodic
know.
eggs, but you can watch the live and you can fast forward. That's the beauty of these podcasts. The option to fast forward, rewind, slow it down, do whatever you want. So, also speaking on that, Inside Scoopers, I know a lot of you that are watching through the website. There's a lot of people there. We talked about some of the Facebook glitches that Facebook has believed that are all fixed now. There is this waiting list, join the waiting list issue that are happening to some people where Facebook, there's a breakdown that we've posted in our tech group that's called the Inside Scoop Tech group, open community group. This is some credit card issues that people are having, and it should tell people that, but it doesn't. It says you're on a waiting list, or a validation or a verification of someone's page. If Facebook believes the page is too brand new, it will not let you into the Facebook version of the Inside Scoop. But that's why we created the web version. Now, we know a lot of you want to be able to live comment from the web page. We're working on that. We believe that we've found a little developer tool where all of you that are on the other side of the website version can now start commenting live too, which would be pretty cool.
I'm sorry, Amanda says I could have made 10 eggs by now. It's best.
Listen. Before everybody starts trolling me, get out, make yourself, according to science, the best egg pie. If you're just tuning in late, you make sure you rewind this. For those
you could spend the rest of your day
my
cooking one egg
hardcore
in
science junkies that are there, make one. Listen, apparently the chefs say it is the most delicious egg as well. They said it's the most delicious way to, not only is it nutritionally bound, but it's also very delicious. So if you try it, Inside Scoopers, and you make one for your pets, please post either in this or next week. Tell us about it. Oh yeah, by the way, next week, Dr. Becker.
Don't miss this one, Inside Scoopers.
Part
Don't miss it.
of the highly anticipated, the most watched viewed series of the Inside Scoop. Arguably the largest pet food review in the entire world. And it's live. We have part 3, freeze-dried, toppers, and so on and so forth with we're bringing back some incredible experts, and we've got new experts that will be coming in and tuning in over the next couple of weeks, which will be very exciting. And also we've got to bring this up. I know, sorry, not this one. Look, I'm all over the place here. A lot of you are asking about H5N1 and can we please do a segment? So we are bringing in, hopefully, if we can organize this. We know that Professor Weiss is a highly in-demand man. University of Guelph's arguably top professor who came into the Inside Scoop during the COVID situation.
I was so shocked. Rodney, he's so busy right now. He's swamped. He is staying at work till like 10 o'clock at night dealing with this highly pathogenic avian influenza crisis in Canada. And you know what, Inside Scoopers, this beautiful man is, we're going to nail down a time. He's willing to stay even later to give us the information that all of you and us, that we all want to know. So we are really excited that this beautiful expert.
There may be another bonus episode this week, perhaps. Maybe if we can get it early, you'll see it early. And so maybe 2 episodes this week along with the review. But we want to get you the world's best to answer these tough questions, right? We know there's a lot of incredible veterinarians out there and health experts giving their opinion on this. But man, let's talk to the ground troopers, the people in the lab that are actually seeing what's going on, and recommendations on what you can do if you happen to be affected by this. I know it's a big problem right now in the U.S., Karen, in your country. Here in Canada, it's not really much going on here in other parts of the world as well, but obviously our U.S. audience is massive. Inside Scoopers, we hope you enjoyed this week. And the breakdowns of Dr. Karen Becker's pantry. I would say my favorite section is the periodic egg. I'm sure it's yours too. Next week, same time, same channel. Pet Food Reviews will be back.
Woo-hoo, so exciting.
Have an awesome week, everybody.
Have a great week, guys. We love you so much.
So long.